The subject on this capsule today, I wanted to touch on Quebec's new law. It's Bill 96. Bill 96, I think many of you may have already read it in the papers or seen it on the news. And what they're trying to do, one, is to reinforce the French language in Quebec, and the other one is to assert its nationhood for the people of Quebec. Now, the first part, when it comes to protecting the language and culture, when this thing first became a hot topic 2 weeks ago, it kind of angered me a little bit because I felt that Quebec was acting selfishly and arrogantly by trying to protect its language on First Nations backs again. So I did many interviews. I pointed this fact out. I also was as diplomatic as I could be, just extending my hand to the French speaking people of Quebec, that we understand. Who better understands the loss of language and culture than us? We've been here for thousands of years before the arrival of Europeans, and yet we're the ones whose languages and cultures are close to extinction in many cases. So by continuing to put that pressure up, one representative at the National Assembly, Manon Massé, member of Québec Solidaire, she heard my arguments and also my plea that this should not be done in such a way. She presented the motion in the National Assembly that First Nation languages and cultures should be added to this law, should this law be adopted. So we have this new development. We're not exactly sure where it's going to go. I know myself, I can only speak for our historical arguments within Quebec. I've, in my 10 years, learned enough. I've read many historical documents detailing our history and our relationship with the French. And in some cases was very surprising because, as a matter of fact, the relationship between the Mohawks and the French were a very important alliance. I've seen the documentation where it goes back to the middle to the late 1600s. Now, as the relationship, I guess, economic, militarily, things were going pretty good. Even religiously, most of our people from Kanesatake, Aguzasne, Ganawage, had converted to Christianity. Okay, I'm not making this up. It's in the histories. So, right up to the conquest, up to 1760, the English were coming in to conquer Montreal, the last stronghold of French in North America. So they show up here and they asked us to have a meeting. Our representatives met, agreed on a treaty of neutrality, which they call the Treaty of Oswegatchie. So from that point, we didn't want to fight our French ally, but we didn't want to fight for the English either. So we decided to stay neutral in the fight. After the conquest, a couple of treaties were formed, Royal Proclamation comes out, and the relationship, despite the change, the historical change, we go up to 1837, the rebellion. The rebellion at that time, they were French, what they call the patriots at the time. They were trying to rebel against the English because of the mistreatment they were getting. Now, they were meeting in a place called St. Charles. At St. Charles, they were discussing on how they were going to fight back. They had invited delegations from our communities, and according to what I've read, said that they were so joyous when they looked towards the river and saw the river just full of canoes, full of warriors that were there to support them. There was another piece of historical significance was soon after that, the Patriots heard, and this was up in the Chateauguay area, that there may have been some weapons and powder and stuff they could use in their rebellion stored in Ganawagin after the War of 1812. So they decided they were going to go into Ganawagin, but there was a lady who was looking for her cow, apparently, who kind of came across this gathering and ran back to Ganawagin and warned the warriors. So they came back. The warriors got ready, and they captured about 40 Patriots who were ready to go and not attack. They had a plan to grab the warriors, bind them up, and look for the weapons. But instead, it turned on them. So after that, they delivered them to the English authorities. Now, the English authorities saw these Patriots, took some of them, executed some. Others were going to be sent to Australia, others into various prisons in the area. Now, the Mohawks, this was the strange thing, is they were advocating for leniency to the Patriots, saying they had done nothing wrong, they hadn't spilled any blood, and that they should spare them. So where the relationship went wrong with French Quebecers, kind of hard to say. But I think over time, I think just the grabbing of our territories the way they did, I think was the turning point. So relationship historically has changed. But like I mentioned to many people, the fact is that Quebecers, on a large majority, do sympathize with the way we've been historically treated, the lands that were stolen, the resources, the poverty, the dysfunction and all, everything that comes with it. And they understand and they sympathize with us. So it's important not to turn that sympathy into animosity. And that's why, with a little bit of understanding on both sides, I'm convinced that we could work this type of issue right out with them. So a little bit of time and a little patience, I think peace is going to be brought back to our relationship. The other part of C-96 was the assertion of nationhood, and with the federal government supporting that motion, saying that Quebec has a right to do this. Now, Quebec has had 2 referendums on separation, which were rejected. Now, if this constitutional change could have been unilaterally done, why didn't they do it before? They had since 1982 to do such a thing. So why do it now, and why do it this way? But my argument to them, and this is as much to the Premier of Quebec as the Prime Minister of Canada, you have no right to do this. If you want to unilaterally change that part of the Constitution, you better talk to us, because the assertion of nationhood in Quebec means what? What territory will this nation occupy? The territory of First Nations have not been settled. The breaches by the federal crown have not been settled. So this is why I called it the second colonization attempt by Quebec. First Nations, I think, should stand up and should fight this notion. If Quebec does not want to sit down and have honest discussions about this, what would this nation look like? Is it going to be a just and fair society? We don't know. Resources? What about our economic development? What about all kinds of aspects of our lives? How are they going to fundamentally change our hunting and fishing rights within this nation of Quebec? Because we have no treaties with them. Where does that lead us? And I believe that a violation in international law is also going to be the result of asserting the nationhood in this way. And I've also encouraged First Nations to go to the United Nations and formally deliver our objections so that no international recognition may be given until such a time as we're able to sit down and talk about what this would mean. So if they go ahead and they use the notwithstanding clause within the Constitution to make this change, I think that's the coward's way to do it. Instead of sitting down and talking, they want to take the fast road to this nationhood. We're going to have no choice but to fight it. You look at Jody Wilson-Raybould, member of Parliament. She stood up and she said no to the motion. And this is where it's going to lead. We're going to have another Elijah Harper moment where we're going to have to hold that feather up and say, no, we cannot agree with this. And leading to a confrontation will help no one. I know French Quebecers. I know they're sympathetic. I've known many, and they are some of the best people. I don't think there'll be any objections by the people here in Quebec. So the hand is still extended. Hopefully they'll take it. Because having a big constitutional fight over this, I don't believe it'll help anybody. It'll just harden our positions on each side. So that's about it right now. So I'm sorry it took so long, but I think it's a discussion we're going to have ourselves. And what does this mean to us? And I'm looking forward to that discussion one of these days. So, Nyawakoa.